Director of Physical Wellness for the First Responders Foundation, and we're welcoming you to the first of what we hope is a series of nutrition classes here at the First Responders Foundation in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm going to be doing a brief overview of nutrition today. Some of the topics that I'm going to cover are why is nutrition important to first responders? What are some of the causes that lead to some issues for first responders? What are some things you can use, some helpful tips that can help you with your physical wellness as a first responder? We'll go over some of the popular diets, what all these diets have in common. We'll also talk about macronutrients as far as proteins, fat, carbs, what they are, what they do for you, how many calories do you need on a daily basis, how to figure that out. And then we'll actually do a live demonstration. I'll show you a quick meal you can make that's portable, that's easy, that I hope you kind of reach your goals and make things a little bit easier when you're on shift. So just a little bit of background on myself. As I said, my name is Adam Tripp. I'm the director of physical wellness for the First Responders Foundation. I'm an Army veteran, grew up here in Omaha, Nebraska, did just over 20 years in the Army. Physical fitness and nutrition was a passion of mine. When I retired in 2015, I came back to Omaha and started a nonprofit called Ways of Freedom with a friend of mine, Jason Collins, with a mission to help first responders improve their physical well-being. We started out very small in my garage, helping out some veterans, and we just kind of grew from there. And as the years went on, we were lucky enough to get aligned with the First Responders Foundation, who had a very similar mission to mine, and it just kind of worked out very well for us. So part of their mission statement is physical well-being, also emotional and spiritual. So now we're aligned together, and we have this beautiful facility. And hopefully we can help you out. Obviously, part of physical well-being is not only, most people think physical fitness, which is a very important thing that we will do, but part of that is nutrition also, taking care of your body. So that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. That's a little bit about my background. So first off, why is nutrition important to first responders? Well, we have a duty to serve. Just like when I was in the Army, I had a duty to serve, and there were certain things that were expected of me. You're expected to do strenuous activities, and you need to make sure you're taking care of not only yourself, but your coworkers and the public also. If you're not in peak physical shape, you can injure yourself, you can injure your coworkers, or you can injure somebody else out in the public. And obviously, we don't want to do that. So I'm going to be using a whiteboard kind of throughout it. That way, obviously, we're doing this over Zoom. So I can write a few things down for you guys. That way, when you're watching the recording, or if you're watching now, you can write things down. I'll leave them up on the board for you, so that way you can have a visual of what I'm talking about. So what are some issues that first responders have when it comes to nutrition and physical health overall? I was kind of in a situation where I was the soldier, I was a veteran, but then also I was the husband of a ground paramedic. My ex-wife Megan was a ground paramedic in Tennessee. She's now a ER nurse in Omaha, but so I got to see it on both sides. Some of the issues are, first of all, it's a growing problem nationwide. It's no secret that Americans are getting larger. Unfortunately, overall, so there's a little bit of a less of a pool to kind of draw from. So you're kind of already starting out, in a bad spot. Also, long hours. So let's start writing these down on the board. So you're working long hours. Depending on your department or whatever, you could be working, 24 on, 48 off, or you're working 12. No matter what, you're still working pretty long hours. So you're there for a long time. And what comes with long hours, and overnight, obviously you're a 24-hour operation, lack of sleep. There's plenty of studies out there right now that show how lack of sleep affects weight gain. You're in a very stressful occupation, right? Not a lot of people understand, you know, what it is that you do in a job where you're on a call, where you're seeing a lot of, you deal with a lot of traumatic events, possibly that stress. Some people, you know, we call it stress eating, which that's me. You know, some people go the exact opposite way, where they're under stress, they completely stop eating. I'm opposite. Like any type of stress that comes to me, I'm like, give me the Ben and Jerry's, like I'm ready to go. Like I'm eating. So stress, obviously, that's with your job. You know, you have your shift. The calls on your shift are unpredictable. They're not knowing when the next call is coming. Sorry, my handwriting got bad. So what do I mean by that, right? So, you know, there's, you know, as a paramedic or a firefighter, you know, there might be hours, or some shifts are very quiet, right? You're I would call it just kind of sitting around a lot. But then next thing you know, it's, you know, you're sitting around hanging out and the tones go off and you got to go. So not knowing when, you know, can I have a meal right now? I don't know. So the tones go off, you got to get going. So you just kind of grab whatever it is you know, whatever you have available, or you're just out on, when you're on your call after the call, hey, let's just run through the drive-through and grab something real quick, right? That leads to also my next point of some of the issues, so lack of planning. So we'll talk about it just a little bit in this class, but what one thing we'll really dive into in some of our future classes is actually planning a meal and meal prep. We'll devote an entire class to that, where I'll show you guys everything from how to shop to how to prep your meals to how to portion it out, so you know how much you're taking in with each meal. But that goes a long way when you you know, if you don't have anything prepped or planned, you just grab whatever's available to you. It's usually not good. You know, most of the things you can go through the drive-thru are going to be very, very good for you. And then my last point on this one is going to be lack of accountability. Okay, so what I mean by that is you don't really have anybody like keeping you in check, or you don't have a proper support system. Maybe you just need some like-minded individuals that are ready to say, hey, here's what you need to be doing. Which kind of leads me into the biggest thing is education. You don't know what you don't know. And that's why we're here today. That's why we're doing this class right now. Because you just don't know. Most people don't know, what are proteins, what's fat, what's carbs, how do I track my meals? Why do I need to track my meals? How many calories should I be taking in? So we'll get a little bit into that today. But that's really for me, my first, years and years ago, when I first went to join the military, I was actually overweight, and they were all they told me was, hey, you need to lose weight. So the only thing I knew as a 17-year-old kid, stop eating. That's what I did. I was just okay, I know if I don't eat, I'm gonna lose weight. So literally for a month, I one meal a day, and I was just running. I would just go jogging, and it worked. If that's sustainable, probably not. But that's where my education was at the time. And as I obviously went along, got older, got more mature, started kind of diving into nutrition and physical fitness. Obviously, I know smarter and started understanding it. But right now, some of you that might be where you're at right now. That's fine. That's why we're here to help you guys out a lot with that as we go along with these classes. Okay. So what are some things that we can do to help? Obviously, you're here today. It's class to help, but we'll talk about a couple of things you can do right off the bat. So like I said, the first thing with you guys being on shift, prep your meals. And it takes a little bit of time. For me, I normally, every Sunday, I'll take just a couple hours out of my day, and I'll prep usually my lunches and some dinners. But, you don't have to get extravagant. You can, I've seen some people where they're doing like, a full week of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You don't have to do that. A good place to start is just, start with one thing, one meal, prep that, bring it to work with you. Like I said, we'll really get into that. That actually might be my, the next nutrition class we do. I think would be good to do meal prep. I think it would really help you guys out with your job, obviously, and then with you guys being on shift. Some things you guys can bring to work and help you out. All right, so one, this is actually, I should have wrote this first, but being conscious of your choices. So it sounds kind of, it might sound a little silly, but honestly, just before just thinking, just taking a second to step back and think before you eat whatever it is you're gonna eat, just being conscious that, okay, this is a choice that I'm making, right? It doesn't matter if it's a chicken breast or pizza, right? At least in your mind, like, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm gonna eat, I'm being conscious of it, and then you can kind of, go from there. What happens with a lot of people, myself included, in the past was what's basically called like mindless eating. You have no idea. You're just like going through the day, I remember I'd get home from work, and I would just like pour this gigantic bowl of cereal, like not even thinking, just like pour. That's what I did. I just ate some cereal and didn't even think about what I was eating. So, when we do any type of like nutrition coaching and things like that, that's usually number one for me. Is I just tell people that's where you need to start. Just being mindful of what you're eating, being mindful of your choices. That's a great place to start. Whether or not it's, it might not be the best choice, but at least you're thinking about it. So that's super important for you guys. Next one would be just taking a pen and paper or notebook and start a food journal. The purpose of doing a food journal, and that's something, as you go along down the road, you won't need to do that, which is called like intuitive eating, is where everybody would want to get to. But when you're first starting out, most people have no idea what they're taking in on a daily basis. They have no clue, and it's very eye-opening to a lot of people when they start writing down what they're taking in, right? So they have no idea, like, wow, this is what I'm eating like on a daily basis. And it's kind of funny. So normally, like with clients, when I first started, I always tell them like start with yesterday. If I tell you right now, today, okay, start. I want you to write down everything you ate. I guarantee you, like, oh, I had chicken and broccoli every day. You know what I mean? Because now you're thinking about it or whatever. You might not want to say, oh, I don't want to look bad or whatever. So I usually tell people start with like the day before because it's a lot more accurate. But it's a good thing. For about 3 to 5 days, I always have people. Just keep a food journal, pen and paper and notebook, just write it down, write down what it is, and that way you can see. You need a visual of what you're taking in because most people really don't have any clue of what they're actually taking in. I have education on here, which we've already talked about, and then my last one is going to be support. So there's a lot of ways you can get support. Obviously, one would be, through what we're doing right now. We have stuff available. We're doing these classes. You can reach out to me if you want, individualized or personal coaching. Feel free to reach out to me. We can help people on a one-on-one basis. Your guys the men and women that you work with at your station, you can start, like a support group there. At home is a big one. So if you're married, especially if you're married. So a problem you kind of see it in the household, the home is one person might be on board, and then you have another, the spouse or whatever is not on board, right? Like, I want to start eating better. I want to get in better shape, and the spouse or whoever might not be on board. So you need to be, it's great if you guys can be on the same page when it comes to nutrition and health. Okay, I should have that down. Next, we're going to get into We're going to start talking about diets just a little bit. Like I said, we'll really dive into a lot of these topics. We'll get into the weeds in some of our future classes. But let's do it. We'll go over some of the popular ones, what they kind of what they're about, and I'll show you like a common theme that all of them have. One of the questions I really like to ask people is, I really apologize for my handwriting, it's terrible. Which diet is the best? Right? You'll get a bunch of different answers. Keto was hot for a while. Carnivore got hot, really hot after the new year. Whole 30, things like that. Intermittent fasting was super, super big, right? So I'll go through, I'll write through them down, and then I'll give you my answer to which I think is the best diet. Let me write a few of them down. So you have, I'll go over just some of the popular ones that most of you have probably heard about. So you have Paleo Diet, right? Back to the caveman roots, what a caveman ate. Mostly whole foods, a lot of meat, a lot of fat, not a lot of carbs, fairly low carb, things like that. I was a good caveman. I used to make a joke, if a caveman came up on a cupcake, he'd eat it. You know what I mean? So you can say whatever you want. They didn't eat bread or whatever, but they have to probably put. So carnivore diets, still probably really popular right now. All right, so the carnivore diet is kind of what it is, right? It's carnivore. Meat eater, so super, very, very high protein, high fat, zero carbs, zero dairy, nothing like that, very restricted. So just put meat, basically meat. That's like all you can eat. And there's some really good. You can go on, you can go on YouTube. A bunch of people did like these challenges. I did carnivore for 30 days, and here's what it did to my body. But we'll get into some more of those. I'll put whole 30 in here. So whole 30, another very popular diet. So whole 30 is basically it's like a 30-day challenge. There's a list of foods you can eat, and there's a ton of foods that you can't eat. So another very, very restrictive diet or whatever, but it's basically here's a list of foods that are good that you can eat. Here's some that you should not eat. That's right, 30 day, more like a challenge thing. And I think the premise for the whole 30 is that after 30 days, your body should be adjusted and you should be good to go. Maybe. All right, for this one, so I'll put intermittent fasting. I'm just gonna write highlight for this one. Intermittent fasting, really very popular. So intermittent fasting basically is you have a certain amount of time, a time window during the day that you can eat. Most people do a 16-hour fast with an 8-hour feeding window. So let's say, your feeding was from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can eat basically whatever you want between 10 and 6, but after that, no more, you can't eat anymore. So time window would be this one. And then the last one, obviously there's a ton of other ones, Mediterranean, all these other ones, but the last one I'll write down, which is gaining some popularity, obviously the acronym. So this is Expenditure macros, or you're here to call them flexible dieting also, which is this is what I do, but that's my preference. So the idea behind Expenditure macros is you have a certain amount, you know how many calories you should take in a day, how many grams of protein you need to get in, carbs, fat, and you basically, as long as whatever foods you eat, that basically lets you hit your numbers, you're good to go. You can eat basically whatever you want, as long as you hit hit your macros. So as long as you're not going over your calories, you hit your protein, fat, carbs, you can eat whatever you want. So for those that I'm just going to write flexible. All right, flexible diet. So, okay. So now I'm just going to do one of these things. And show you what you have in common, right? So people, what people do is they'll say, okay, well, I started doing paleo and I lost weight right away. I did carnivore and I lost weight. Same thing with Whole30 or intermittent fasting. So the thing that they all have in common, same with different picture macros and intermittent fasting, is what they all have in common is they put you in what is called a caloric deficit. So, which I'll get into here in a minute, but your body, you have a total daily energy expenditure based on a lot of things: height, weight, age, your job, how much you exercise. Your body basically burns a certain amount of calories a day based on those factors. If you eat under that, let's just say, just for class purposes, yours was 2,400. If you consistently eat under 2,400, you're going to lose weight, right? It's physics, law of thermodynamics. If you constantly eat over 2,400, you're going to gain weight. It doesn't matter what it is. That's how it works. So the reason these all work, and I defer to weight loss because that's what most people are looking for, most people want to do. But the same can be said for if you wanted to add muscle to get bigger. You're going to have to eat in a little bit of a surplus, and you would just add food. But the reason things like, so like let's take, paleo, obviously, if you were coming in, eating the way you were, and then you switched to paleo, more than likely, you're probably eating in a surplus. Paleo takes away almost all your carbohydrates. So imagine removing all those calories and carbs from your diet. Obviously, you're going to lose some weight, right? Same thing with carnivore. People think, I can eat all the meat I want and all the protein and fat. Same thing. If you went to 0 carbs on carnivore, you're already in a massive deficit right there. Whole30, same thing. You're removing a lot of things that you were eating in the past, and then you're in a deficit. And intermittent fasting is good. There's nothing magic about the window. Like, if your time window was 10 to 6, you're not gonna blow up if you ate something at 6:01. You're outside of your window, right? Your body doesn't work like that. But what happens is, like, normally you might have been breakfast or whatever you're having. You're eating from 9 until then you have food like at night. So you're just basically reducing your calories that way through a restricted time window. And then reflecting that, if you fit your macros or flexible dieting, now you have the reason that works is because now you know exactly how many I should be taking in, how many grams of protein, fat, and carbs, and that requires a little bit more work, obviously, because you have to kind of track it. There's ways you can do it through, things like MyFitnessPal or calorie tracking apps you can use. That we'll get into a little bit, and we'll get into more in future classes. But that's why all of these work. There's no magic, about any of them that are different from any of them. They just all put you in a caloric deficit, right? The reason, so now we'll get into, I'll tell you which diet is the best. So the diet that is the best is one that you will adhere to and that has foods that in it that you actually enjoy eating, right? So adherence by far is the biggest factor into weight loss, right? Sticking to whatever it is you're doing, right, on a sustained basis. So we'll put down here, I'll just write up here adherence or down here. Adherence. So the reason that I don't, the reason that I like flexible dieting is because, or if you picture macros, is because I don't restrict myself. So obviously every one of these other ones, and I'm not advocate or against any of these. If you enjoy eating this way, paleo or carnivore or Whole30, and you can stick to it, by all means, that's what you need to do. But for me, I like to be flexible, stay, because I think life really doesn't care. Like say you're on Whole30 or even Carnivore, and it's your kid's birthday, right? Now let's say, well, I'm on Carnivore Diet, I can't have a piece of birthday cake with my kid. Think about how long that is going to last, or how long you're going to stick to that. Or you're out with your coworkers, a social event or whatever, a potluck, or you want to go have a beer with your buddies. To me, life is, you need to have some flexibility in your diet. So that's why I advocate for it. That's why things like I don't Whole30 or things that are hard to sustain because they're just so restricted. And whenever you restrict things, most people are like, well, what happens if I go off my diet? Which kind of leads me to my next point about labeling foods good and bad. So that's another thing you kind of hear a lot. And I even catch myself giving it to myself. Let's say you had a donut or you ate bad. You tell yourself, oh, I ate bad today, or that food's bad, donut's bad, pizza's bad for you. This is good for me. This food's good for me. So I don't believe you should assign like morality to any food. It's food, right? We eat. That's what we do. Having a donut, having a piece of pizza is not going to ruin your life, right? You shouldn't assign morality into it, but then you start psychologically, you start feeling bad about yourself, right? You say, oh, now I ate bad. Now I'm a bad person because I had this, right? So I definitely, you shouldn't label things good or bad. Food is food. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is, is having, good habits for the most part. A lot of people say the 80-20 rule. If you're eating, whole foods, staying within your calories 80% of the time, you give yourself a little bit of room, wiggle room, 20%. If you want to go out with your buddies or whatever, that's perfectly fine, right? That's just how life is. So I like to have people get away from labeling foods good and bad, because I just think it makes you kind of feel a little bit negative about yourself as a psychological factor to that. Okay, now I'm going to write a very, very terrible looking pyramid for you guys. That's going to kind of go over some of the hierarchy of importance when it comes to nutrition. So let me see if I can. I wish I had a ruler, but I'll make it work here. And this is derived as Dr. Eric Helms. He's an exercise science guy. Very good follow if you look him up on Facebook. Really good. He came up with the nutrition and strength training pyramids. So let me see if I can draw this thing here. Kind of big so you guys can see it. Okay, so lifestyle. Behavior. Overarching theme, lifestyle behavior. Sorry. Bear with me for a second. I'm just going to write it. So I'll get into the first two a little bit more in depth, and then I'll just briefly explain these others. But let me write these down. So the bottom of our pyramid, we have energy balance. Better known as calories in versus calories out. So I'll just write CECO. Then you have macronutrients, protein, fat, and carbs. Micronutrients, think about vitamins. Nutrient timing, when you should eat them. Sorry. favorite up here, supplements. The top of here. Okay, so obviously, you know how a pyramid works. At the bottom is your base, right? So it's like your most important thing. And I have this down here because this is like the overarching thing that really makes the biggest difference, right? Lifestyle and behavior. And when I was like working on this class, I was thinking about it. In terms of like a first responder, or when I was in the military. So myself, when I was in the Army, obviously there was there's physical fitness standards, there's height and weight standards that I had to meet, or there's disciplinary action basically. So like for me it's like 5'10", I think I could have been 194, and then every 6 months or whatever, take a physical fitness test. So push-ups, sit-ups, run 2 miles, I had to meet those. Same thing with a first responder, right? You guys have a duty to serve. Police, fire, EMS. You basically taken, for us, we took an oath. Same thing with you guys. That you're gonna, protect and serve. So your lifestyle behaviors need to kind of reflect that you're gonna be able to meet your oath and meet that standard. It's a very physically demanding job that you guys have. All three, police, fire, EMS. Like I said, I got to see it firsthand, being married to a paramedic. So your choices and lifestyle needs to revolve around, can I do my job effectively? Am I going to put myself at risk, put my coworker at risk, or put the person that I'm helping at risk, right? It could be a fire where you're trying to pull somebody out of a fire. You need to be physically able to do that. You might be chasing down a suspect, you need to be able to do that. Carry somebody, like I said, out of the building, things like that. So that needs to be kind of first and foremost in your head when you're thinking about, fitness and nutrition is, all right, there's gonna be certain things that I just can't do, right? I can't go out to eat every single night. I have to basically maintain my health and fitness to a standard for the majority of the time. Like I said, obviously there's I'm not saying you can't go out and have a good time with your buddies. You can't, go out to eat with your family, but there needs to be a standard set. It needs to be 8% of the time, fairly good. 20% of the time, a little bit of wiggle room, right? That's what I mean by lifestyle behavior. Even take for instance like a bodybuilder. Not even a person just a bodybuilder that's going to do a show, right? Their lifestyle behavior has to lead up to them looking good on stage and being at the top, physical condition. Stay with me, I'm competing powerlifting every now and then. I'm in the 82 kilogram weight class, so I know that I need to basically stay there leading up to competition day. If I wake up in the morning, even like whatever, an ounce over 82 kilograms, now I'm in the next weight class competing with guys that are like 20-some pounds heavier than me. So it's not a good thing. So lifestyle behavior is the overarching theme, right? You have a physically demanding job. It needs to, your choices and decisions need to basically reflect that. So energy balance is at the bottom of the pyramid. It's the base. That's the biggest thing, and that's going to be the biggest factor when it comes to your weight overall, right? Calories in versus calories out. Like I said, and I'll get into a full kind of figuring out how you can go about learning your how many calories you need. But that's at the end of the day, that's all the difference. Like I said, thermodynamics. You'll hear some, people say no calories in, it doesn't matter. It's my hormones. And yes, there are some cases where hormones do play a factor. But at the end of the day, it's calories in, calories out. It doesn't matter really what you're eating. There's a good study that a professor down at Kansas State did a while ago, where all he ate was like gas station food, like Twinkies and all that stuff, terrible, stuff that most people think are really bad for you. But he was in a caloric deficit and they ended up losing like 20-some pounds, right? Just because he was under his calories for the day. So macronutrients would be next on the list. So once you get your calories in check, you know how many calories you got that going for a while. The next thing I like to get people doing now is, okay, now let's figure out, how much protein, fat, and carbs, should I be taking in on a daily basis. That would be the next kind of order of importance for you. And then micronutrients would be next. So once you get, your calories down, once you're now like, okay, I'm getting enough protein in, I'm getting enough fat in my diet, and I can really focus on some of these micronutrients, all my vitamins and minerals that I need. And then the next one, very, very actually little importance would be nutrient timing. So what I mean by nutrient timing, so, in a perfect world, you would, let's say you're working out every day at, you get off of work and you go to work out at 5 o'clock. The majority of your carbohydrates, which your body's preferred fuel sources, would be around your workout time, so like before and after workout. So your body can really, use that to the best of its ability. But it's not, at the end of the day, it's not important. If you're getting, all your calories in that you should, and throughout the day, you're hitting your protein, fat, and carbs. It really doesn't matter when you get it in. This would be like way down the road, or if you're competing in like a show or whatever, you really want to come fine tune your nutrition, then you would worry about nutrient time. But that would be way down the road, and definitely not very important. As you can see, it's way through the pyramid. And then the last one that I have, which has the kind of the least effect, would be supplements, which a lot of people, unfortunately, that's like the first thing they turn to, because everybody wants, they want the magic pill, they want the whatever, whatever fat burning supplement is out there, the hot thing. But unfortunately, I wish those things would work and we could eat whatever we want. We just took a pill and it would be good. But not saying they're not. There are some that important. So for me, creatine I take every day, 5 grams a day. Is one of the most studied supplements out there. The one that's actually one of the very few that's shown to actually work. So that's one thing I definitely recommend. I consider things like whey protein a supplement would be good. But you can also almost throw that into the food category also. But if you're having a hard time through Whole Foods, like hitting your protein goals, then you can just throw in, which I'll do, maybe like a shake a day or something like that. I'll have whey protein just so I can get it, and it's also very affordable. Better than I'm talking about also. So supplements very, very low on the list. That's another thing where you're just really looking to you've been doing it for a while, you're good to go. You get your calories in check, you get your macros, you're getting enough vitamins, minerals in, then you want to just throw in like some creatine or something like that. Or fish oil is another thing that I would recommend, vitamin D, things like that. But you can, all the fat burning stuff, and if I got friends of mine that own like supplement companies here, and I apologize, I'm not trying to lose you any business, but there are some good things that you guys have. But any like testosterone booster, any fat burning pill, whatever, I'm telling you right now, just save your money, please. Save your money. Get your get educated on what you should be eating. Try to get whole foods in, and then if you need a supplement down the road with things like protein, by all means, do that. Okay, so we'll dive into now. I've already talked about why calories in, calories out is the most important. That is basically what's going to determine your weight. So now let's talk about, which I mentioned a little bit ago, total daily energy expenditure. All right, so TDEE. So this is the amount of calories your body burns on a daily basis. So, and the way that's figured out is it's broken down into a few things. So you have BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. Basically, BMR is how your body stays alive, the functions that keep you alive. Your organs running, your blood flowing through your body, your nervous system, your cells, everything. Those are just your normal life functions. That is your basal basal metabolic rate. And then you have your exercise, thermic effect of food. So what I mean by that, so when you eat, your body has to process that food. It has to digest your food, it stores it. You actually burn calories just by eating. So it's very small amount of calories, but it does burn calories. But that's how it factors into your daily energy expenditure. And I'll get into a little bit more of these. I just want to write them down right now. Then you have your exercise energy expenditure. So just like it sounds, how much if you exercise, if you work out, you lift weights, you go for a run, obviously you're burning calories. One thing I'll say is the kind of caveat is, I very, have no problem with people wearing like, Apple Watch and they're good because they'll show you, they're very, they keep you active and, they have little challenges and great. They'll tell you how many steps you did, but it'll also tell you, how many calories you burned. One thing about it is, most of them they're fairly inaccurate in a lot of studies. You might say, like, oh, I burned 1,000 calories. More than likely, you probably burn like 300. Unless you're like, ultra marathon runner or a distance runner or something like that. But nothing wrong with them. Just don't. What happens is people see that super high calorie burn, they think, well, now I can eat those calories back, right? Like I just burned a ton of calories. I can now eat. If you're very familiar with like MyFitnessPal, which I don't like that they do. So a lot of people input their exercise in there and it has the amount of calories that they think they burn. So what MyFitnessPal does then is it basically allows you to eat those calories back. So let's say your goal was 2,000 and it says you burn 900. Now you're only at like 1,100, right? So now a lot of people say, oh, now I have 900 more calories I can eat. You're probably way off, you know what I mean? So now I always tell people that's like, icing on the cake, pardon the pun, but those calories. So if you're using things like MyFitnessPal or another calorie tracker, if you're at that stage right now, don't input your calories into your exercise into MyFitnessPal. Just think of that as like, hey, I did good, I feel good, but stick with what your calorie goal is. Just that, not the added things you get with exercise. Basically, it messes people up and they're wildly inaccurate, so you end up taking more calories than you think you are with energy, with exercise. And then you have meat also. So non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So that is basically like your job. What I'm doing right now, I'm fidgeting a lot, moving around. You walk your dog. If you work construction, you're active. Even like I said, you're just twiddling your thumbs. That's something that's not specifically exercise, but it's still movement, right? You're still walking around. You get up to go to the bathroom, things like that. That's called NEAT, and that also factors into your TD. Okay, so basically so BMR is by far, like a lot of people probably say, oh, probably exercise is the biggest thing because I'm burning calories. Actually, your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, your body's system that's keeping you alive, is by far the biggest factor. So normally, it's not 100%, but generally it's to factor BMR just roughly. Let's say you weigh 80 kilos, which is almost like 180 pounds. So 80 kilos times 20 would be 60. So 1,600. You're burning about 1,600 calories a day just by being alive. Even if you were just basically laying in bed, that's what you'd be burning on a daily basis, right? 1,600 calories. That's a lot, right? People don't really think about that. Thermic effect of eating is not very much. It ends up being about like 0.01 or something like that. So it's about 160. Exercise, energy expenditure, that varies obviously. You might, if you only work out a couple of times a week, if you're like, like me, I generally, powerlifting, it's not burning a lot of calories. You might be lifting a lot of weight, but you might be burning like 250 per workout, maybe. Some, like I said, some really, if you're running marathons and distance runners, your numbers are going to be a lot higher. But generally between 250 and 500 is what you're going to burn through energy expenditure. And then meat is about the same, depending on your job, how active you are in your job, or how, you're taking walks during the day, things like that. It's about the same thing. 250 to 500. So if you do the math, roughly, I'll just do it quick in my head, put these kind of like towards the middle, about 20, probably like 2,400, roughly, that you, 180-pound person, that would be about what you're burning on a daily basis, about 2,400 calories. So that's where that would be like your starting point. Like here's where, if I go over this consistently on daily, I'm going to put on weight. If I go under this consistently, I'm going to lose weight. If I stay at this, so you're going to be at maintenance, right? So this would be maintenance calories, what we call maintenance calories. Basically, how many calories a day you need to maintain your current body weight. None of these, obviously, you would need, different, like a DEXA scan, to know how much lean body mass you have or whatever. But that's a really good, that'd be a great starting point for you to know how many calories do I need to take on a daily basis to maintain my weight, and you can kind of adjust from there. Another good thing, an easier thing you can do for a starting point is just take your body weight, by about 14, and that would give you a very good starting point for your maintenance calories. If you wanted to lose weight, you would obviously lower that number. Your body weight times like 11 or 12, and then if you wanted to bulk, you could add it just a little bit. But that's a really good starting point to figure out your maintenance calories. And I won't get into as far as like tracking them and things like that yet. I think for now, I just want to give like a really general overview and not get too sciencey on you guys. But down the road, in some of these future classes, I'll show you basically how you can figure out your calories, how you can figure out how many grams of protein you should get in a day, fat and carbs, and start tracking. But for now, just this is a really good just to start to show how calories are basically figured out. It might be eye-opening to some of you, who think, oh, maybe I thought it would be a lot more, maybe it was a lot less, which is actually kind of common. People think they need to eat, they see like, for some reason, like 1,200 calories when it came to weight loss was like, somehow they got like, that was the standard, right? Which for most people is way too low. You don't need to eat that low. I mean, if you're like a 100-pound person, yeah, probably 1,200 pounds, 1,200 calories would be good, but I'll show you guys down the road how to kind of figure out all that. Quickly, I want to go into, so now I'm going to go into macronutrients. That was the second most important thing on our pyramid. So I'll just talk really quick, give you kind of what they are and what they do for you. All right, so you got the big three here: protein, fat, carbs. And then down, I would say down here, a separate one would be fiber, but it's not considered a macronutrient. So these are the macronutrients. What food is generally made up of. Is some combination or one of the macronutrients. So protein, which I think most people know, protein is basically used to, it's a builder, right? If you want to build lean body mass, muscle, want to maintain lean body mass or muscle, that's what protein does for your muscle, right? So it's a builder. Okay, fat, which is really kind of like throughout throughout, especially since from like the 70s on, it's kind of gone up and down. Fat got like demonized, that's why you see all these like low fat, no fat foods and everything like that. But I think people, it's a great marketing thing for companies. I think people kind of they link together like if I eat fat, I'm going to get fat, which isn't true. Fat's very important for you. You need it. You need it for your organs. You need it. Obviously it keeps us warm, but it's also for hormones, right? And you have to have you need your hormones functioning properly if you want to live, a great life. As far as even like libido or your drive to work out and things like that, your hormones need to be functioning properly. So that's what eating fat does. Think of things like, which I should have. Let me go back to protein. So protein, obviously meat. People think when they think of protein, they think of meat, right? So lean meat sources: beef, chicken, fish, pork, and then you have other, a lot of dairy, which I'll get into here in a little bit. Dairy, like Greek yogurt, things like that. Then you go through like some, there's a Venn diagram of foods, some kind of cross both, like carbs and protein, things like a lot of beans or whatever, kind of high in protein. Same thing with like some of the nuts or whatever, like almonds, things like that have, kind of high in protein, but they're a fat, so things like that. Like I said, so for fat, think of nuts, seeds, all your oils, olive oil, coconut oil, things like that, avocados, some dairy, milk, things like that are fats. And then our favorite is carbohydrates. So carbs are your body's preferred fuel source. So when you eat, carbs are broken down into sugars, basically glucose, which the low carb fat is out there right now. People want it, like carbs are not like. Let me just tell you right now, like carbs are not bad for you, right? Carbs are good for you. They give you energy. That's what you need. Your body's preferred fuel source. It's just like anything else, though. Anything you eat in excess, right? It's not good. So you need to just stay within your goals. But there's nothing wrong with eating, unless you have. Now there are some people with gluten allergies, celiac disease, things like that. And yeah, by all means, you should eat gluten-free stuff and avoid things like that. If you have no, health issues or anything, there's nothing wrong with eating carbs. Think of things like potatoes, oatmeal, good things like that. Bread, obviously, carbohydrates. They just get kind of, when people hear carbs, they think things like donuts and candy, right? Fruit is a carb. High in sugar, but very portable, good food for you. Things like that. That's your body's fuel. So that's what the macronutrients do for your body. The one you want to prioritize is protein. So let's put like a check mark here. So when you start working with clients, once you get your calories in check, then we start adding in the macronutrients of protein. General rule of thumb is about 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. So for me, like at 180 pounds, if I get in roughly between 150 and 180 grams a day, that's good for me. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, so much protein. How do you eat that much protein? It's really not that hard. Foods that are high in protein, whole foods like chicken and beef and Greek yogurt. I'll show you today. You can supplement with like whey protein, but it's not. Once you get going, it's not that hard to figure out how to get that much protein. And then once you get protein in check, just because that's what you need for lean body mass, muscle. You want to maintain as much muscle as you can as you get. I'm getting older. I'm 46 right now, and I want to be able to like be on my feet and be active as long as I can. Which is like one of the actually leading like mortality is like loss of lean body mass. It's hard to get around as you get older. You're gonna lose some, but you can fight it by continuing to resistance train, get enough protein, and try to maintain as much lean body mass as you can as you go on in life, right? After that, it's really obviously it's personal preference. So once your calories are in check, and you're like, okay, now I'm hitting my protein. After that, it's really personal preference. Carbs are actually not an essential macronutrient. So that's really, if you want to say you have however many calories left, you can kind of switch in between, fat and carb, whatever your preference is, If you're super active, you're a CrossFitter, you're a runner, you're lifting weights and things like that, yeah, you want to get you want to keep your carbs fairly high, and then, fat, you can just kind of get in there after. Whatever you have left or whatever, just use towards that last factor. So. And I'll get into some, I'll show you guys exactly how to figure out all that, based on your body weight and stuff like that down the road, but that's just a quick kind of general introduction to what the macronutrients are. Man, like right on time, it looks like. So, last thing I wanted to do a quick demonstration. I wish I had a sink, but I'm gonna make this work. So I'm gonna show you guys a quick video you guys can do. So if any of you guys follow me like on Facebook or you're out for Weights and Freedom, one of the things I make a lot or whatever, one of the things I usually have for breakfast a few times a week are overnight oats. The reason I like them is because it's easy to make, it's quick, it's high in protein, and it's portable, right? Like a lot of people, I hate you wake up and I have to cook something. A lot of people don't do that. I know a lot of us are working from home now, but when you're working in the office or you're going into shift, as a first responder, if you don't have anything planned or prepped, you're just probably going to go grab something. Usually you don't make a lot of good decisions when doing that. So this is easy. You can just make it, throw it in your refrigerator overnight, grab it in the morning when you go to work, and it's already done for you. So all you're going to need is a mason jar, about this side. And just a quick shout out to Private. They provided their action team. They provided us with the funds to get all this food for you guys that I can show you how to make. So thank you to Private. All right. So I'm gonna actually use my, another thing I'll show you guys, not now, this is when you want to be like super precise with things and you're tracking calories and you're tracking how many grams, like for me, what I do. So I use a food scale because it's just much more accurate, like you'll see on here, like your half cup might not be my half cup. If I fill it, you're gonna fill it a certain way. You're gonna fill it a certain way. The biggest thing is like protein powder. One scoop for you might be like that. So the good thing about it is it has like in grams also, right? So it'll say a serving size is a half a cup or 40 grams, right? So for me, with my current goals, I usually use 60 grams of oatmeal, and this is really full, so I'm gonna have to try to be quick here and not make a huge mess. But all right, so I just put it on my scale. Right now I'm at like 15. Sorry, it's gonna be messy. Okay. Close. All right, there we go. And you can get really creative. There's plenty. I'm telling you, for recipes and like meal prep and things like that, Pinterest is your best friend. Just click on like healthy meal prep or overnight oats, and there's a ton of different things out there. You can make them really fancy and add all kind of stuff to them. But so normally here's what I'll do my oats. So these are quick oats that I use. I'll put a little bit of cinnamon in there. Close that out. Okay, and I'll do some protein first. All right. And so this is kind of your personal preference also. I like to use something like vanilla or chocolate just because it's like a neutral base. It just works out a little bit better. So, for me, I have mine at home. I know how much it is, but on here it's so I just use about 35 grams. So not 35 grams of protein. This would be by weight. Okay. Yeah, perfect. And next, I'll add some almond milk, like unsweetened vanilla. The reason I use almond milk, there's nothing wrong with 2% or whole or skim. It's really basic for me. It's just like it keeps the calories low for me. So I'm not adding a ton of calories through milk, basically. But there's nothing wrong with using regular milk. And this one, you'll have to kind of get used to, depending on the type protein you use and how much oats will depend on how much water you need. I've done this for a long time, so I know how much I need, but usually I would say about 3/4 of a cup is good. I know how many grams it ends up being, so for me, this will be pretty good there. All right, so now one thing, a tip I have for you guys, and this is where I do message. So what you want to do is like give it a quick stir, just to get the protein powder kind of mixed in. At the end of this, you're gonna have to like shake it pretty vigorously. But yeah, I can already tell. Get a little bit more milk to like this is some different protein powder. That's good. All right. I'll add in just a little bit more though. But you can see like it's like that. So I'm gonna take this with me. So don't worry, my hands are clean. There we go. Clean that a little bit. I'm just gonna throw a little bit more milk in there because it's pretty thick. There we go. All right, now what I do next, I'll throw in like some Greek yogurt. So I like you can use plain, it's fine. It depends on what else you put in your oats. But I like the 000 vanilla from Oats. It's good to add a little bit more flavor. And this is kind of the same thing. So I'll use 113 grams of this. So normally it's a full cup is the serving. I'll use half of that. So normally it ends up being about 113 grams per pound cup. All right. Just a quick stir. And also, this is gonna be cold when you eat it. So a lot of people are like, well, that's something that they kind of have to get used to. But obviously, with Greek yogurt in there, you don't want to put that in the microwave. All right. So now all I do. So now you can. I add fruit to mine. I just use these frozen berries. You can use fresh fruit if you want. Just cut it up and throw it in there. I just like these are a lot more affordable. It's a little easier. Now I just kind of fill it basically to where it's to the top or whatever, however much room I have in my mason jar. I won't get too crazy, so I'm just going to close it. All right, once I have that done, close it up. I won't do it fully, but you really need to shake it, right? So you're gonna shake it more than that than I did now, but shake it up until it's kind of like you can tell it's kind of combined. And all you do is throw that in the refrigerator. You're good to go. Take it with you the next morning, and you have a full meal, high in protein, carbs to give you some energy. You got a little bit of fat in there from the yogurt, so it's perfect. Just kind of make it based on what your goals are and what your kind of taste preferences are. But it's really that easy. One thing I forgot to tell you guys, I just want to show you. So one of the things that can help is so this is obviously a very portable meal, but some of the things you can take with you to work that are quick and easy are things like these like protein drinks, like your protein that have like 30 grams of protein and keep you full. Something you can just grab if you're getting out on the call and you need something, take it with you. These tuna packets or whatever, low calorie, high in protein. Most of them are like 90 calories, about 15 grams of protein each. Protein bars, which these are fine also. A lot of them are just basically like candy bars with some protein in them. But these have like 20 grams, which are pretty good. Things like beef jerky also are good. So just things you can grab that are on the go, that are portable, that are going to kind of keep you full, work very well. So that's what I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the class. We're going to do a lot more of these. I plan on doing a free nutrition seminar once a month. If the foundation allows me to, I hope so. And we'd like to start getting people in person. Class would be great, just because it can be a little bit more interactive. And I can answer some questions and talk. If you guys have any questions on what I talked about, or just any questions in general about physical fitness or nutrition, feel free to reach out to me wherever, on Facebook or whatever. and I'd be glad to help you guys. Once again, I appreciate it. Something we're going to be offering is our group fitness classes. We have a brand new facility that we'd love to have you in, along with nutrition coaching. So hope to see you guys soon.